2022 is the year of setting and maintaining boundaries. If you truly want to be fulfilled, you have to stop going outside of alignment. You have to start avoiding regret.
If there's anything this world needs more of, it's people who are fulfilled because they take care of themselves in an effort to serve the world at their greatest level. First of all, thank you so much to Gloria and Angela for having us on. We love this community. We love this community so much. We love how growth oriented all of you are. Many Young Living people are my clients and my dear friends now at this point. Some NLU team members who are a part of Young Living as well. So we adore the fact that all of you are so into personal development, so into growth. And most importantly, today, we're going to talk about fulfillment. And so the speech we're going to give today, 40-minute keynote, take notes. We're going to have a lot of fun. 5 points each. Designing your most fulfilling life possible. I remember when I was young, people always told me these are the best years of your life. And I remember thinking like, God, I hope not. Okay. All right. So we'll tell our stories briefly for those of you who don't know us. When I was 7 years old, I got the best lesson that I've ever gotten. My mom sat me down. She said, Alan, you can be a CEO or you can be a farmer. I'm going to love you either way. But if you choose to aim high and go for CEO, you can wake up one day and just decide to be a farmer. Trust me, it does not work the other way around. Because when I was 2 years old, my father passed away in a car accident when he was 28. My mom was 30 at the time, and she had 2 kids. She was a single mother, and she wished she had focused more on academics. She wished she had aimed higher because then she would have had choices. Because she was in a position where she didn't have a lot of choices. So I had a stepfather from age 3 all the way to 14. My stepfather left when I was 14, which was really, really hard. And when he left, we went from very well off. Kevin and I have memories in 5th grade where we played video games together, and he thought I was the rich kid. And we went from customizing our own $250,000 yacht in the early 2000s to I got free lunch at my high school because of how low our income was. My stepdad was the main income earner, and my mom didn't have a high income. She was actually the cook lunch lady at BVT, Blackstone Valley School. And so at the time, one of the most painful experiences of my life, not only did I lose my stepdad, but I also was broke as a family. But in hindsight, some of the best character development I've ever had. I had to be the man of the house from a very young age. I had to learn what it was like to not have money. We used to do ski trips and snowmobiles and Block Island and vacations every year. And we went from very, very well off financially to not at all. And I had to bootstrap my way through college and all that stuff. So fast forward. I'll try to go quickly. I'm in my mom's old kind of tattered black BMW, and we're driving past my alma mater, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. At the time, my uncle Merle was the track and field coach there. They've actually since named the field Norcross Field. He has since passed away. But back then, my mom said a simple thing, again, planting seeds in my heart. Alan, you're really good at math. That's a really good school. For those of you who don't know, WPI is kind of like a mini MIT. It's one of the best tech schools in the world. And so she said, Alan, really smart kids go there. Engineers go there. Engineers make a lot of money. Aim high, you'll have choices. You should go there. You're really good at math. Again, planting a seed in my heart. Fast forward. She took a big chance on me. It's 8th grade. And she said, Alan, I'm going to take a chance on you. I'm going to let you take 8th grade off. Now, you still have to go to school, but you don't have to try. And she said, up to that point, I had already gotten mostly A's and B's. And then if you look at 8th grade, my academics, it was like mostly C's and D's and B's, no A's. You have to promise me, though, if I let you have fun, just go have fun, you got to get straight A's in high school. So I did. I got 189 in honors English. I got the President's Award. She said, I'm going to take a chance on you, take 8th grade off, get the President's Award. It's actually behind me. The President's Award is all 4 report cards for all 4 years. So 16 report cards straight. You have to get straight A's. I only got 189. You have to have above a 95 or above GPA. Fast forward. I get into my dream school. Awesome. I'm an electrical and computer engineer. I do a lot of partying. I graduate with high distinction. I'm in corporate. I'm designing circuits behind a desk at a company called Tyco Safety Products. Now it's known as Simplex Grinnell. And I'm like, this is the most boring job ever of all time. Who's been there, huh? worst. I'm like, did I make the wrong choice? What do I do? Talk to some of my mentors. I'm going to go back for my MBA. So I go back to school. I get my MBA, job hop a lot. I robot, Sensata Technologies, Oz Development, Simplex Grinnell, all these different companies. Lived in LA for a time, like 3 or 4 months, came back. End up at a company called Cognex. Start a little inside sales engineering team there. Eventually get promoted to outside sales. Now I'm paid off 84 grand worth of debt back in 2014. So I'm out of school debt. I'm up in New Hampshire with my little cousin, and I'm leading an entire territory at this point. So my territory was Western Mass, Vermont, and Connecticut. And I'm pretty miserable at this point. I achieved all my dreams. I went to my dream college. I had a beautiful girlfriend at the time. Her name was Courtney. I had more than enough money. I paid off all my debt. I was in corporate, and I was still unfulfilled. I'm up in New Hampshire with my little cousin. We're playing Call of Duty, not doing anything crazy. Going to TGI Fridays. You may have heard this story if you listen to our podcast. We're driving to TGI Fridays. I'm looking down at the GPS, and I look up and I realize I'm on the wrong side of the road. It was that really bad winter in 2015 when the snowbanks were covering the signs. So there was a yield sign I didn't see, horrible three-way intersection that apparently accidents happen on all the time. So I look up and I see these huge lights in front of me. I thought it was a Mack truck at the time. I'm doing like 35. They're doing 35 at me. And I'm thinking, no chance we survive this. Luckily, it was not a Mack truck. If it was, I'd be dead. It was a lift-kitted pickup truck. And I was driving a 2004 Volkswagen Passat, which is a German-engineered steel trap of a car. I actually used to call this car the Tank. I was trying to save money, bought it for $5 grand. Both airbags deployed. My little cousin hurt his knee on the airbag. I hurt my face on the airbag. Now remember, I'm 26 at the time. I heard stories about my dad my whole life. I have seen pictures of my dad's car. He died in a car accident when he was 28. And the pictures of my car do not look different. Okay. So this messed with me bad. Physically, I was okay. But mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I was messed up beyond belief. Post-traumatic stress disorder for sure. Double yellow lines scaring me getting pulled over because I'm on the wrong side of the road, ceiling fans, can't even walk through doorways, claustrophobia. Had to puff my chest up and practice walking through doorways. What we don't talk about enough, though, is post-traumatic growth. So yes, PTSD for sure, very real. There's a lot of help you can get. But post-traumatic growth got me to question everything. Am I proud of the man I became? Am I proud of the choices I made? Am I fulfilled? Was I drinking too much and too often? Did I give my all, love my all? And the answers were not pretty. The answer was no. I wasn't maximizing my potential. I wasn't maximizing my greatest level of contribution. I wasn't improving the quality of my life every single day, even though I thought I was. 2 stars I'd never seen before. I'll let you go in a sec, Kev. When you're in the dark, emotional pain, mental pain, spiritual pain, I have this quote I live by. The stars are always there during the day, but you can't see them until you're in the dark. So there was a star in particular that I saw called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's a book by a woman named Bronnie Ware. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. She worked in hospice for 8 years with the terminally ill, and she noticed these same regrets over and over and over again. I wish. The number one regret of the dying is I wish I had lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. Now here we are, 120 countries, 500,000 people all over the world with this show, 900 plus episodes we just surpassed. And we've interviewed hundreds of people. We coach. I have thousands of hours coaching, speaking, podcasting. So does Kev. All different industries, all different countries, all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities. And I'll tell you one common through line. Every single person here fears the judgment of others, and it is holding you back more than any other single factor. You will never be fulfilled by pleasing your judgmental aunt. You will never be fulfilled by pleasing your judgmental father, who never approved of you unless you stayed in the lane he told you to stay in. You will only ever be fulfilled by 3 things: maximizing your own unique potential, maximizing your own greatest level of unique contribution, and maximizing the quality of your own life. So what I want everyone to question today is, what if what's best for me is what's best for the world? And that's what Kevin wants as well.
Strong work, Alan. So
Thank
I'm
you,
going to take the remaining 37 seconds here. I'll tell my story and then we'll get this thing going. What do you think? So you'll learn pretty quickly that Alan and I, although we work very well together and we're like brothers at this point, we are basically polar opposites. So I did not graduate with high distinction. There was no President's Awards. And I did not attend one of the best colleges in the world. In fact, I did not attend any college. I grew up in a single parent household. I was raised by my mom and my grandmother. Shout out to mom and memes. And when everybody else went off to college, I decided that I didn't want to do that. So I was the gas station townie attendant for a while. I was the guy who would pump your gas when you came to the gas station. And it was hard because there was girls I had crushes on and my friends would come in and I always kind of felt bad about myself. But after that, I went and I worked at a hospital cleaning toilets and cleaning floors. And I drove a forklift. I drove a truck. I was on call at the fire department. I was a personal trainer. I had many, many different jobs, but I got this very unique opportunity in the weatherization industry. So it was my job to make your building more energy efficient. And we only worked for the state or the government. So I ended up making really good money, which was great. But I ended up getting this job. And shortly after I got the job, my girlfriend at the time ended up leaving me. So just like Alan, I had what everybody would consider success. I had a high paying job, anywhere from $70 to $100 an hour. That was great. I had a sports car. My girlfriend was a model. I had a new apartment. From the outside, I was crushing it. But inside, I was insecure. I was afraid of my own shadow. I was anxious. And I wasn't proud of the person that I was. And my girlfriend wanted to go across the country. She wanted to go to California and chase her dreams. And it pains me to say that I did not support that. Not only did I not support that, I stopped her from doing so. She ended up saying, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. And she left me behind and she did the right thing. I'm very proud of her for doing that. But when she left, I hit rock bottom. That was me looking in the mirror for the first time, realizing I'm not confident. I'm not as badass as I show and everybody thinks I am. I'm super insecure. I'm dealing with anxiety. I don't know what to do. So I did what many people do when they get into self-improvement. I started positive affirmations and I said, I'm handsome, I'm worthy, I'm talented, I'm smart. And this year I will make the most money I've ever made in my entire life. I did not realize that was a positive affirmation, but that's what I went with. The next year starts and I get promoted to a foreman of the company I'm working at. And it was crazy. I was on the road every single week. I lived in Massachusetts at the time and I was in New Jersey a lot. So for those of you who don't know, it's probably 5 or 6 hours away, depending on where you are. We get to the end of that year and I had been on the road for 10 months out of the 12, every single week. I was only home Friday night and then Saturday. We usually left Sunday morning. So I was just working, grinding, making money, and I was very happy with that. But I got to the end of the year and I was standing at my kitchen table. My ex-girlfriend had taken my chairs and I never got new ones because I was never home. And I slid open my paycheck and I made $100,000 at 26 with no college degree, but nothing changed. I was still as miserable as I was before. I was still as insecure. I was still anxious. I was still directionless. And at times I felt hopeless. In that moment, I realized that for most of my life, I had been living unconsciously. The opposite of unconscious is hyperconscious. And I started a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast, which is now this thing today, which is awesome. But the next year after that, I have this podcast that I love, and I'm getting messages from people saying, hey, that episode was awesome. I am building up a little bit of a community. That's great. And it was almost overnight that I stopped wanting to do my job. I didn't care about $100 an hour. I just didn't care anymore. I cared about having deep, meaningful conversations with other human beings that would help human beings. That was something I was passionate about. And I started calling out of work. I started showing up to work late. I was leaving work early. So you leave 4 hours early, you're leaving $400 on the table. The people working under me hated it because I was taking money from their pocket. It got to the point where I would have to be at work at 7 a.m. and I was 5 hours away. So I would sleep in my bed from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. and I would get up and drive 5 hours straight to the job site. And I would work an 8-hour day. And then I'd go to the gym after. And on Fridays, I would do the opposite. Earlier, I said I hit rock bottom. And unfortunately, I found out that rock bottom has a basement. Not everybody gets there. I hope none of you ever get there. But I woke up one morning in New Jersey and it was a cold winter morning, dark, one of those mornings where you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I can do this today. And I slide to the edge of the hotel bed. I've done this thousands of times at this point, and I'm lacing up my work boots. And the best way to explain it is there's 10 televisions on at the same time, and they're all on different stations. And one's saying you're stuck here forever. The other one's saying, what will your friends think? What will your family think? You'll never make another $100 an hour again anywhere you go. You have to stay at this job. The loudest one, and I think a lot of us probably deal with or have dealt with this, was, do you really think you can be successful doing what you love? Do you really think you can be a successful podcaster? And in that moment, I felt like if I ended my life, I would end my problems too. And that is a dark place to be. And unfortunately, it wasn't the first time I had that thought process. That was probably the third or fourth. Now, luckily, I had Alan in my corner. Alan and I were business partners at the time. And I texted him and said, hey, man, I'm really going through it. I don't know what to do. And he said, Kev, so much has changed over the last few years in your life, but your environment hasn't changed a ton. I think it's time for a change. And 3 or 4 months later, I left that job. I went full-time into speaking, podcasting, and coaching. And unfortunately, the rest is not history. We were broke and I was $35,000 in debt. And there was a lot of pain after that. But now, like Alan said, now we get to do this for a living. And I'm grateful that all that happened, because now that helps me help others at a deeper level. And I wouldn't be the man I am today if that didn't happen to me. So that is my story. That is Alan's story. Alan, are you ready to talk about fulfillment?
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you lead the dance, brother.
Okay. Appreciate you. Strong work, man. So it's not just the message, it's the messenger. And so we wanted to tell our stories in case you don't know us, because the truth is you got to be careful who you take advice from in this life. There's a lot of people out there that are talking and not walking, and Kevin are not those people. So now hopefully you know that. But the first thing to understand about fulfillment, the story that I tell for this, we've all probably seen that meme or that story where John Lennon was a little kid and the teacher gave him an assignment, which was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, happy. And the teacher said, you don't understand the assignment. And John Lennon said, you don't understand life. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure.
It's a good story either way.
Good story either way. Now, while I love that story, what I think is fascinating and what I've found as an engineer is that we don't really understand what happiness is. We know we're supposed to want it. We know we're supposed to pursue it. We know that happiness is what everyone's after, but we don't really know what it is or how to get it. And we certainly don't know how to sustain it. Okay. So I'm an engineer. I try to reverse engineer everything. So in my head, it was like, okay, we got to figure this thing out. I think there's actually 3 things that make up what we consider happiness. The first one is joy. Enjoying the present moment. Right now, hopefully, all of you are enjoying our speech. I'm enjoying myself right now. So we are in joy of the present moment. Pleasure is the trap. I'm going to say that again. Pleasure is the trap. Pleasure is if then. If this speech goes well, then I will have pleasure. If it does not, then I won't. If I eat this donut, it will be pleasurable, but that donut is not necessarily good for you. It's certainly not what's best for you. And yes, I love donuts too. No one doesn't. Don't let them lie to you. All right, here's my point. Joy, pleasure, and the third and by far most important part of the equation is a word called fulfillment. And what I found most fascinating when I studied this and kind of came up with this in many ways is that what is pleasurable is almost never fulfilling. So we live in this weird world where, okay, watching Netflix and eating ice cream is super pleasurable, but it's never, if you do too much of that, you will not be a fulfilled human being. Again, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, coaching clients all over the world, interviews, hundreds of people, millionaires, billionaires, semi-famous or not. No one is fulfilled by ice cream watching Netflix. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. It doesn't mean you can't do it every now and then, but it's not going to fulfill you as a human being. So whether it's John Lennon or it's Kevin or it's myself or it's Gloria or Angela or any of you, what we should be optimizing for, in my opinion, is fulfillment. I'm writing a book right now called Optimizing for Fulfillment, and I have a pyramid with 20 different categories: sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, mobility is the first level. I'm not going to get into any of that. Here's what I'm going to say. There are three things that matter when it comes to fulfillment. Number one, I've already said, maximizing your own unique potential. You can do things that are hard and not pleasurable and be glad you did. That tough workout that you didn't want to do, but you're glad you did. That is fulfillment. I do not wish for anyone here to have an easy life. I wish for you to have a challenging but deeply meaningful and fulfilling life. People who have a pleasure-centered, easy life paradigm are in trouble. This is not my opinion. This is me studying for decades human behavior and human beings and psychology and neuroscience and all of that. Okay? The easy life, the easy road will never fulfill you because it doesn't give you any growth. We can all, like Kevin and myself, think of a time in our life that was so hard. It was so hard to get through. It was so challenging. And at the time, we were like, F this. But later, after the growth, after we learned and grew from it, we're glad that it happened. And so I asked Emilia one time, I said, sweetheart, my girlfriend, Emilia, sweetheart, can you grow without challenge? This is when we first started dating. She said, no, of course not. I said, can you have challenge without any pain? She said, no, of course not. I said, why are we all avoiding the one thing that brings growth? So that's something to contemplate here. That's the first point. Are you focusing on joy? Are you focusing on pleasure? Or are you focusing on fulfillment? Because I lived in a pleasure-centered paradigm, which is a deep belief. I grew up in this paradigm, I should say. It's a deep belief that life is supposed to be fun and life is supposed to be easy. And if you have that deep belief, you're in trouble because the fun and easy things of this world will get a hold of you, and it's hard to get out of those holes.
Most of us are probably content creators in here in some way, shape, or form. And I, at one point, got the biggest fear for most content creators. I had some young man who was definitely distraught. He messaged me, and he was not, first of all, he commented a bunch of stuff on one of my posts, and he was not very nice. He was messaging me, swearing at me, yelling at me. I don't know why. And one of the things he said to me was, you act like you're out here saving the world. You act like you're out here saving people. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Little did he know that earlier that week, I had actually talked somebody down from suicide. Now, the point that I'm making here is you have to understand that fulfillment and you being the most fulfilled version of yourself can be a mighty mirror for other people. Just like if you're very in shape, that can be a mirror for other people. If you're very wealthy, that can be a mirror for other people. I wasn't planning on leading with that point, but I think having that understanding that staying fulfilled, first of all, getting fulfilled is a commitment. Finding your own unique version of fulfillment is a commitment, but staying fulfilled is an even more difficult one because you're going to have people that are trying to pull you off course, and you are going to have to stay steadfast in that belief that, look, like Alan said, what's best for you is what's best for the world. And one of the beautiful things is I know some of you, but I don't know all of you at a deep level. Now, what I will tell you is I would rather you be fulfilled and out of my life than miserable and in it. And there's not a lot of people out there that would say that. So I really want you through this entire presentation to realize finding fulfillment is amazing. Continuing to get it and lean into it with the feedback that you're going to get from other people can be difficult. Our brand is heart-driven, but no BS. Heart-driven, I love all of you. But the no BS part is I want to let you know that it will be challenging at times because you're going to be a shiny, shiny light on a lot of people's insecurities, their lack of effort, whatever it may be. So that is my first point here.
So we're going to leave this speech with 5 questions. The very first one is, where am I focusing on short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term fulfillment? I'll say that one more time. Where am I focusing on short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term fulfillment? So we're doing something called #NLU Gym Pick Challenge. I am currently 19 days straight exercising every day, 19 days in a row. Wow, that's humbling. We tell ourselves a story like, oh yeah, I could exercise 19 days in a row. It's only a half hour a day. No big deal. But getting to the gym, getting your gym clothes on, no matter what comes up, 8 podcast episodes a week, 20 clients, 15-person team, right? We're all busy. It has been unreasonably humbling doing 19 days of exercise straight. Very, very challenging. Okay. So again, where are you trading short-term or focusing on short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term fulfillment? One more piece here. You do not know you love something or someone because you always want to do it. You know you love something because you're always glad you did. You're never going to hear someone later in life say, you know what really took me off the rails? I read too many personal development books and I just went off the rails. You know what? I wish I was less kind. You're never going to hear that. I wish I hadn't exercised so much. That really did me in. No, but you are going to hear people say, I shouldn't have drank so much. I shouldn't have been unkind. I shouldn't have been so arrogant. I should have read more books. I shouldn't have smoked so many cigarettes. Vice and virtue are universal languages. Fulfillment is the soul's recognition of alignment with its highest virtue, its highest calling, its highest purpose. And you all know whether or not you're living in alignment. Here's the cheat code. 2 guardrails of your life from now until forever. Number 1, regret. Wish I hadn't said that. Wish I hadn't done that. Okay. What is regret telling you? That is your soul and your emotions saying, hey, Alan, that was outside of alignment with your highest self. You were unkind to Emilia and you shouldn't have been. Don't do that shit again. Okay. Fulfillment. Alan, you lit her up and you helped her shine. Yeah, go you. That was so fulfilling. Even though it was hard to have that conversation, it lit her up and it made her better. Go you. And by the way, regret and fulfillment, no matter what our parents say, or no matter what our relatives say, or no matter what the comments on Facebook, like Kevin mentioned, say, fulfillment and regret are based on vice and virtue. They're based on alignment with our own highest self. And so that's my second point. And my second question is this: from 0 to 10, how fulfilled are you? Okay. From 0 to 10, how fulfilled are you? If your answer is 8, next question. What's one small change that I can make today to get closer to 10? If your answer was 8, you are an 8 in alignment. You're only an 8 in alignment. You're misaligned somewhere. That's okay. Maybe you're not working out when you said you would. Maybe you're not talking to your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife about that challenging thing. Maybe you're not expressing your truth when you should be. Maybe you're not being courageous enough. There's 1,000 little examples, and there's not enough police in the world to govern them all. It is up to you. It's entirely up to you. But my point is you have to measure it. How fulfilled am I from 0 to 10? What's one thing I can do to get a little closer to 10? And by the way, no one's at 10. You never really get to 10. It's like an asymptote. You spend your whole life trying to get there, right? But here's the key. Are you going up or down? We've all had times in our life where it's like getting less and less and less fulfilled. And then we start watching Netflix, eating ice cream. And then we wonder why we're even less fulfilled, right? We've all been there. The key is to recognize it and identify it and measure it, and then to start making those positive changes. Start small and build.
Next Level Nation, I know many of you out there probably don't feel super supported. You probably feel alone, and you don't feel like you're going to be successful. And what's worse is, even if you do find success, you're probably going to be celebrating by yourself. What if you're just in the wrong rooms? I remember the first live event I went to. For the first time in my life, I finally felt like I fit in. I felt like I was valued for the person that I wanted to be, and big dreams were not only okay, but they were par for the course. That live event changed my life more than anything. And I was so afraid to go, but Alan convinced me to go. And since I had somebody to go with, it was much, much easier. Next Level Live is March 26th in Worcester, Mass. If you're scared to come alone, bring a friend. We're giving away 5 free tickets, but we're only giving them away to our local listeners. We want to meet each and every one of you. Make sure you get a free ticket while you can, because when they're gone, they're gone.
It is first come, first serve. Click the link in the show notes. It'll take you to the landing page. Put quantity 2, grab a friend, and put promo code local listener. It will make checkout $0. Get your ticket as soon as possible. Again, first come, first serve, and local listener, you can copy and paste from the show notes.
We'll see you there. I was watching Netflix eating ice cream last night because I was burning down because of everything going on. So I very much take offense to that. So when I was in high school, I had a friend who reached out to me one day, and he called me. I remember where I was. I was at one of my other friends' houses, and he said, "Kev, I'm having some dark thoughts about hurting myself. Will you come to the hospital with me?" And I said, "Absolutely, I'm there. Let's do it. Pick me up, whatever." I didn't have a license. We had parents drive us around back then because we were younger. And I went to the hospital with him, and I was in the waiting room with him, and we went into the checkup room, and I was just there for him. And fast forward to last year, the year before, and Alan and I are doing this dream chasing thing, and I'm not nearly as accessible because there's so much going on, and we have a team and 7 episodes a week and all the excuses, whatever. And he messages me and says, "Kev, you haven't really been a great friend lately. Can you be the friend for me that you once were?" And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was triggered. I egoed. I got angry. I was frustrated. And I sat there and I said, "I'm going to send an audio message." And I really thought about what I wanted to say. And I sent an audio and I said, "Hey, I need you to know that it frustrated me a little bit with the way you said that. And here's why. I'm doing 6 episodes a week at the time. I'm going to the gym 6 times a week. I have a relationship. I'm $35,000 in debt. We have a 10-person team. I have a bunch of clients. I'm burning to the ground every single week. And I'm struggling. I'm struggling very, very, very hard. Unfortunately, no, I will never be able to be that person for you again, because now I'm that person to hundreds of thousands of people." And what I did was I reset the relationship. Now, I love this person. I have so much love for this person, and now we're on wonderful terms, but I had to tell the truth. If you want to be fulfilled, you're going to have to set boundaries, and you're going to have to live in the truth. Because if you don't, you're not going to be living your real life. You need to reset your relationships to who you are becoming, not who you were before. Because maybe before you weren't fulfilled. And I've said this before, Alan, I've said this on many podcast episodes and speeches that we've given. 2022 is the year of setting and maintaining boundaries. If you truly want to be fulfilled, you have to stop going outside of alignment. You have to start avoiding regret, like Alan mentioned. We all have that relationship, whether it's with a family member or whatever it is. Maybe it's with a substance, an experience, where every time we do it, after we do it, we say, "Oh, I can't believe I did that again. I'm not going to do that again." And then we forget. We forget what it's like to be out of alignment. So this isn't just setting boundaries with other people. It's setting boundaries with ideas, with places, with actions, with behaviors, with substances, with whatever it is. If you're not living in your truth, and if you're not staying within your own boundaries, it's going to be very hard for you to be fulfilled, because you're going to be letting yourself down constantly. And I can tell you this, Alan can tell you this, the master skill is saying no, not yes. Saying no to things that do not serve you will fulfill you in a way that you have never felt before. It's scary as hell. It is. And deep down, you're thinking, what is this person going to think? But I guarantee, I can promise, I promise, it is worth it. And you will feel better about yourself if you do it. And here's the thing. It'll be easier as you do it. And last part, if somebody reacts in a very negative way and they show a version of themselves that you've never seen before, maybe they're not meant to be in your life. Maybe they're not meant to be in your future.
Yeah, if you want to stay in alignment, it's not just saying yes to the person's, places, things, and ideas that are in alignment. It's actually more, to Kevin's point, about saying no to the person's, places, things, and ideas that are outside of alignment. So I was on the phone with a young woman. She's 24 years old. Her name's Gina, first name only. And it was a free coaching call. Super excited to meet her. She's been listening to us for a very long time. And I love to meet listeners and help them with their lives. And She's like, I'm struggling. I'm not fulfilled. I'm lonely. I'm like, okay, well, hold on. Let's take a step back. Let's measure it. From 0 to 10, how much do you believe you're maximizing your own unique potential? She's like, ooh, pretty good. 8. I was like, okay, awesome. Seems like you're working really, really hard. So good for you. Keep it up. From 0 to 10, how much are you maximizing your own unique greatest level of contribution? How much do you think you're contributing to yourself, to the world, to your family, etc.? She said, probably a 7. I said, okay. And I knew already in advance that this was the bottleneck. The next one. Okay. The next one is how much from 0 to 10 are you consistently and sustainably improving the quality of your own life, taking care of yourself in your own life? She said, 3. And I said, if I were to ask you from 0 to 10, how fulfilled you are, your answer would be about a 6. She's like, yeah. She said, how do you know? I said, fulfillment is a formula. 8 plus 7 plus 3 is 18, divided by 3 is 6. Okay, it's a tripod. How much are you maximizing your own unique potential? This is why workouts are fulfilling. They make us better, even though they suck. Okay? And when we grow, now we have more to give. Now we serve the world with that. My days are broken into thirds. The first third is for me, my own work, my own personal development, my own mobility, my own morning mindset workout. Second third for service. We're in my second third right now. From 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., I serve. Coaching, podcasting, speaking, training, group coaching. After 7, it's for fitness, food, and family. Immediately at 7 p.m., I'm going to transition to fitness. I go to the gym with Emilia. Emilia and I come home, we eat food, we hang out with Tucker, and we have a wonderful evening together. Now, it's not always perfect. Sometimes it's off and sometimes it's not, but the thirds are set up based on those 3 things. Number 1, how much am I maximizing my own unique potential? My mornings are for me because I know I can't pour from an empty cup. And I know so many of you are doing that all the time. You struggle to put yourself first because you think it's selfish and you were conditioned to believe that, but it's not true. If there's anything this world needs more of, it's people who are fulfilled because they take care of themselves in an effort to serve the world at their greatest level. If Kevin and I weren't taking care of ourselves, and lately we haven't been because we have an event in a week, it's affecting our ability to serve all of you right now. Me taking care of me is not bad for Emilia, not bad for Kevin, not bad for the NLU team, not bad for Young Living, not bad for the world. It's actually what's best for the world. Now, if all I do is take care of me, that's a different story, which is why all of us overcorrected because we saw people like that and we're like, well, I don't want to be like that. So we went in the other direction. Okay. There's a harmony here. And the harmony is those 3 things. So that's the formula. Fulfillment is a formula. How much am I maximizing my own unique potential? How much am I maximizing my own unique greatest level of contribution? And how much am I maximizing my own quality of life? That third one was really hard for me. Kevin was laughing. He's like, you're going to be the best speaker under a bridge, right? Mastery and impact are my jam. Profitability, not so much. Luckily, he's the CFO. Okay. So ask yourself how well you're doing those 3. Which one's your bottleneck? It's a tripod. If one leg falls, the whole thing falls. Your fulfillment falls. So which one's the one? For Gina, her 3 was improving her own quality of life. She was serving everyone else at the expense of her own life. For all of you, that's probably the case too. Which one is lagging? Which one's your good one? And which one's decent? Incrementally increase them all. Cool.
Alan, can you throw that in the chat?
Oh, yeah.
3. So Alan and I are blessed because, again, we've been somewhat successful with this podcast thing, and that has given us some opportunity for travel and stuff like that. And, you know, that's amazing. And I think that's one of the best things of this. Obviously, the impact and the mastery is there, but the opportunity to do different things and experience different things is also wonderful. A few years ago, we went out to Arizona and we had a mentor who lived in Florida. We flew down there and we were going to hang out with the mentor for a couple of days, and then we were going to fly out to Arizona from there. And I remember we flew into Florida, and the first thing Alan and I did is we went to the gym, because that's usually what we do. We find the gym, we go get a workout in, and then we eat bad food. I'll be honest. We eat bad food and we watch whatever. Hopefully Friends is usually the goal if it's on. And I remember we were at the gym and my chest started to get super tight. And I said, I think I'm going to take it easy, Alan. I don't know what's going on here. And we went back to the hotel and I had a panic attack, and I had never had a panic attack before. I didn't know what it was. I called my mom and I said, I think I'm having an asthma attack, Mom. I don't know what's going on. I can't breathe. And she asked me questions and everything it seemed okay. So I laid down in bed. Alan went out to CVS. He got me some things to help. He got me some Vicks vapor rub or whatever it may be. When Alan was gone, I had another panic attack. And there was a moment where I felt like I was going to die. I was lying on the bathroom floor in a hotel in Florida all by myself, having a panic attack. Didn't know what it was. So we fly back to Boston because for some reason we had to fly to Boston to get to Arizona. Don't know why. We go out to Arizona for a Brendan Burchard event. And I'll never forget, I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what was going on. There was a breathwork seminar by Doc Jen Fit. And that's where we first met Doc Jen Fit, Dr. Jen Esker. And I couldn't do it because I felt like there was a string running down my throat. I didn't know what was going on. We went out to lunch. It was like 105 degrees. I couldn't breathe. I was learning in this time that I had some pretty bad anxiety going on. So I want you to, usually I don't have people write stuff down. This is an Alan thing, but I want you to draw 3 circles. So a small circle, a bigger circle, and then a bigger circle on the outside. So like a little bullseye. In the middle, the first circle, the smallest one, that is your comfort zone. The next ring out is your learning zone. And the ring on the very edge is your anxiety zone. So I went from not traveling in many moons and being somewhat comfortable in Worcester, Massachusetts, to taking 4 flights in a matter of 4 days, something I had never done before. I went from my comfort zone to living in my anxiety zone. So that's why I was having so much anxiety. Fast forward a couple of years, Alan and I go out to California. We do 6 interviews in 5 days, go to a Brendan Burchard event, hit the gym every single day. Wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem because I was in my learning zone. So if you want to be fulfilled, you have to live in your learning zone. Alan mentioned this earlier. What happens for a lot of us is life just kicks our butt and it brings us into the anxiety zone. And we go home and we seek comfort, Netflix, whatever it is. We're not going to get a Netflix sponsorship, Alan, if we keep talking this way. We got to watch our words. And we seek comfort. But what happens is you don't learn anything. So next time you jump back into anxiety. And human beings go from anxiety to comfort, anxiety to comfort, anxiety to comfort. If you really want to find fulfillment, you got to stay in the learning zone. Because when you're in the learning zone, you are stretching what you're currently capable of. And that is fulfilling right there. That speaks to the growth, the contribution, the mastery. So really think about that. I know a lot of you probably are in your anxiety zones. I know the pandemic has done that to many people for many different reasons. And what do? We seek comfort. Next time you are feeling anxious, really think about what you can learn in that scenario. And next time you are in the comfort zone, jump into the learning zone. If you are in the learning zone, I guarantee you will be more fulfilled because you will be more capable. And when you're capable, like Alan said, you're able to pour more. So really think about that. I'm always thinking about that. One of the reasons this journey has been so hard for me, and Alan knows this now, and I know this now, I've been in my anxiety zone for the last 5 years because Alan's comfort zone or learning zone is my anxiety zone. It just is because he's more capable than I am. Right. And that's an important distinction. But understand this, when you grow your learning zone, you extend your comfort zone. So you're comfortable doing harder things. And you also push your anxiety zone away. So your comfort zone will be easier for you to grow. Your learning zone will be where you live. And hopefully you won't hit anxiety nearly as much.
Tangible example. Very first speech we ever gave together, Kevin and I, was in a room of 40 people. That was his first speech. The next speech, he was on stage next to Evan Carmichael. So that's a little bit too quick of a jump. So he had a lot of anxiety during that second event. Oh. And then after that, it was on stage next to Brant Pinvidic, who is an extraordinary speaker. So imagine speaking right now in front of 30,000 people, I don't know, at the Super Bowl or something like that. That would put most of us in the anxiety zone. But The Rock, who's done that since he was a young wrestler, is able to do that at the Super Bowl. And it's way more than 30,000. I don't know how many people were in the stadium, but that's my point, right? We are here in front of all of you. This isn't our first time. If it was, we wouldn't be as good and we'd be freaking out before and during and after. And we'd probably need R&R right after this rather than what I'm doing after this. So you got to start small and build. That's really the point. You got to start small and build, and you have to be willing to be a beginner. Beginners should act like beginners. And I'm serious about this. This is important. If you've never been on a mountain before, there's this mountain in Maine called Sugarloaf. Okay. And they call it One Big Mother. And one of my mom's best friends, her name's Tammy, they've known each other since they were 17 years old, owns a condo on Sugarloaf Mountain. And there's this young man, his name's Derek, who's Tammy's son, who's a rock star snowboarder and skier. And he's like, dude, we're going to the Double Black Diamonds today. Like, you should use skis, not snowboarders. Like, snowboarders don't go up there. I'm like, dude, no problem. It's all good. Got this. I've been on a mountain since I was 4 years old. We get up there and there's a sign that says, ski to your death. Warning, ski to your death. This is vertical. Okay. Now, I ended up doing it well, but that's because I'm an expert snowboarder and I've been on skis and snowboards since I was 4. If you were a brand new skier or snowboarder and you go to that Double Black Diamond, you might actually die. Where in your life are you doing that? Every expert on the planet, every Olympic athlete, every world-class speaker started out as a beginner. And all we see are all these extraordinary people doing the one thing they're the best at. And we assume that they have something we don't, when in reality, they've been doing it for a decade and no one even knew until way later when they had quote unquote overnight success, right? We've had more listeners. We had more listens in one day this past week than the entirety of the first year. So this is a principle I didn't plan on teaching because we're talking about fulfillment, but this is important too. And the whole point of this is beginners should act like beginners and try to become novices. Novices should act like novices and try to become amateurs. Amateurs should act like amateurs and try to become experts. Experts should act like experts and try to become masters. Masters should act like masters and try to become grandmasters. Next level university. We care more about your next level than your current one, but we don't want you to skip 10 levels and go to a Double Black Diamond and fall to your death like the sign says. We don't want you to squat 1,000 pounds your first time in the gym. That's how you get injured. That's how you get injured and then never go to the gym again. So Stephen Kotler refers to the challenge skills sweet spot, which is what Kevin just described as the learning zone. He mentioned how my learning zone is his anxiety zone. And I think a lot of that has to do with self-belief. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I was speaking and doing things like that long before him. But where are you treating yourself like an expert when you should be acting like a beginner? Or more importantly, where are you allowing other people to make you small as a beginner when you're actually an expert? That was a big mistake I made. I would shrink to other people's competence because I could tell it made them uncomfortable. Okay. One quick story. I'm on the phone with a client this week. We're doing something Emilia taught me called the truth dial. So picture anyone who has a light dimmer in their house. You dial it down and the light gets dimmer. You dial it up and the light gets brighter. Every one of you, Kevin and I, are coming in here, and all of what the world has said of you're too much, you think too much, you work too hard, you're too much this, you're too that, you're too this. We want you to dial those virtues up. Those are virtues. Working hard, contemplating life, communicating effectively, wanting to be better, reading personal development books. Oh, why do you read so much? Why do you go to the gym so much? Why do you think so much? Those are virtues. Kevin and I are here not to dim your light. We want you to turn that dial up. Every one of my clients, that's all I'm doing. I'm turning that dial up. Now, I don't want you to go from 0 to 10 in an instant, right? That creates trauma. And then you get lashback from everybody because it's like, who are you? But I do want you to dial it up. So I'm on the phone with a client. I said, before we started coaching, be honest with me. Where was your level of expression? And that's what I use. The quote is, the suppression of self-expression leads to depression or explosion. Okay. So when you bury stuff and you don't express your truth, you don't say what you really believe, you're not honest with yourself. Okay. There's suppression at 0 of this dial. There's expression at level 10. And all of us have people in our life where we're at level 10 and we feel the most connected to that person and the most connected to ourselves. What a coincidence. It's because we're living in our truth. So now picture someone who, when you're around them, you feel like you have to dial it back. You have to dial who you are back, your uniqueness back. So I geek out about personal development books. There are certain people where I'm not allowed, quote unquote, to geek out about personal development books. What I used to do is dial me back. Guess what I do now? I just leave. Yeah, just leave the room. Or I dial it up like Gloria was going to do. I dial it up. And then they get uncomfortable. And instead of, why do you read personal development books so much? I just hold the mirror up and I say, well, it's an interesting question. Why don't you read any books ever? I know you think I read too much, but what if you read too little? I know you think I work too hard, but what if you work too little? I know you think my dreams are crazy, but at least I have them. What are your dreams? What do you feel like you've accomplished a lot, or what do you think the next 5 years is going to look like? Right? And then you'll see them shrink. The puffer fishes of the world will shrink so fast. The bully who seems so confident is actually deeply insecure. Okay? So, like a light dimmer, I want all of you to dial it up. Dial it up where it's most uncomfortable. So, love my mom to death. Used to tell Kevin and I how to run our business. Eventually, I just said, Mom, I have a master's in business. I help doctors and I help people scale their businesses to the multi-million-dollar level mark. I've been in corporate. I've been an entrepreneur. I started my first tech company when I was 22. How many businesses have you scaled globally? And you just saw like, oh. And again, Mom, if you're listening, I love you. But it just got her to wake up and realize, oh, I shouldn't be telling him how to run his business. I'm like, Mom, I got this. I help multimillionaires grow and scale their online businesses. Trust me. All of you need to have those conversations with people. You need to be willing to at least hold the mirror up. Now, you don't have to shove it in their face, okay? You don't have to. If you want to, you can. It's fun. I'm just joking. You don't have to, but you can hold it up. Just hold it up. And here's how you do it. Just ask a question. You work too hard. It's like, have you ever considered maybe you don't really work hard enough? Or you can try to do it respectfully, and you can even sense my ego, right? I've got a lot of pain in this. But I want you to think about your associations. Are they dialing you up or are they dialing you down? Okay. If they're vibrating here and you're vibrating here and you're ahead of them, they can't lift you up. This is important. I'll be quick about this. I know we got to go soon. If they're not ahead of you in their journey, they actually can't bring their hand down and lift you up because you're climbing higher than they are. They're not capable. You can't give away what you don't have. Kevin and I cannot tell you what it's like to get through a difficult pregnancy. We've never done it, and we never will. And we're not going to sit here and try to tell you how to do it. That's called outside of integrity and inauthentic. But we can tell you how to grow and scale a podcast globally because we've done it, and we're still doing it. Okay. So who are the light dimmers in your life, and who are you going to hold the mirror up for? And then what rooms do you need to leave so that you can dial up and get what you really want?
Time check, Alan. We got like 5 minutes, so let's hammer. Just to Alan's point, I remember when I was in the best shape of my life, I was spending time with a lot of bodybuilders and a lot of people who tracked their calories and a lot of people who did cardio and a lot of people who went to the gym. When Alan and I started spending time around millionaires and millionaire mentors, we started talking about money more. It wasn't vilified anymore. It was accepted. If you want to be the most fulfilled version of yourself, you got to start surrounding yourself with people who are fulfilled. That is the thing. We ask each other, hey, do you like your job? Like, how are things? Nobody's ever said, hey, Kev, are you fulfilled? I mean, Alan probably has, right? But start making this part of your conversation. You need to spend time with people who value fulfillment as much as you do. They don't value looking more successful than they really are. They don't value that. They value being a quality, heart-driven, purpose-driven, aligned human being. And you just need more of that. You need more of that. The fact that we can talk about it so openly. Like that's what this community is. But make sure, and I think we're all guilty of this a little bit. Alan and I are blessed because we created our community. So that's awesome. But I think a lot of people, when they leave their community where they're the safest, they kind of revert back to who they are when they're alone. So make sure you don't do that. Make sure you have different tributaries where you can go, where you have this level of exception. People accept the fact that you are all about fulfillment, happiness, joy, living your dreams, doing whatever lights you up the most.
Last point. I know we got a time check here.
Hammer it.
If you had a friend who broke as many promises to you as you have broken to yourself, how much would you value that friendship? Self-respect, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-belief, self-worth, self-integrity, all of these come from keeping the small promises that you make to yourself. Imagine you have an intimate partner. You say, I promise, I'll be there. Don't show up. I promise, I'll be there. Don't show up. After weeks or months or years of that, how much is that person going to value you? How much is that person going to value that relationship? That is the relationship you have with yourself. I'm 19 days straight in the gym. I know it's hard and I know it sucks. It genuinely sucks. Anyone who tells you otherwise is kind of full of it a little bit. Okay. But I'm grateful every single time I leave and I say, yeah, self-respect. Why? Because I decided. It's not anyone else. I was on a podcast once. They said, Alan, what does it mean to be next level? And I tell this story. There's only one thing I can ever say. There's only one thing I will ever say. I'll say that. Who am I and what am I doing when no one's watching? The promises I've made to me are the most important to me. I care more about my effort in the gym tonight than I do on this speech. And I'm not joking. Okay? How many of you are saying, I'm going to work out today, and then don't, and then expecting to have high self-esteem? You can't break promises to yourself every single day and then have high self-esteem. That's not a thing. You can pretend to have high self-esteem. A lot of people do that. Okay? And that's called ego, by the way. That's a whole nother keynote. Whether it's peak performance tracking, whether it's 75 hard, whether it's you writing in a journal what you want to accomplish today and then checking it off, small promises every single day, no matter how big or how small. I want a new water bottle and I want new wrist straps, and I'm going to go to Walmart and I'm going to buy them and I'm going to feel good about it because that's what I want. Okay? Because those are the small promises I keep to myself. Lately, I've been so overwhelmed, I haven't been able to keep the promises to myself or the promises to Emilia. She's had to really pick up the slack. And I've been feeling terrible about myself. Why? Because I'm not living up to my own standards. So we're at the end here. You want to be fulfilled? Make and keep the promises you make to your highest self. Every one of us has an option and we know it. Work out or not. Have the challenging conversation of truth with your partner or not. You know, go to bed early and on time like we want to and wake up early or not. Watch just one episode instead of 2, 3, 4. Netflix doesn't even give you much time to shut the thing off. It goes to the next episode within like 4 seconds, right? Mindless drones. We're all just being bombarded with all this stuff. No one on earth, no one in any country, people all over the world, no one on earth doesn't struggle with keeping the promises they make to themselves. I'm not the most disciplined person that I can be. I'm getting a little better each day. That's it. That's how you get fulfilled. I'm not the most disciplined person. I'm just more disciplined than I used to be. I'm not the most fulfilled person on earth. I'm just more fulfilled than I used to be. I'm not more capable than anyone else, but I'm more capable than I used to be. That's the whole game. That's how you get fulfillment. And that's it. That's it.
I just want to add one more, Alan, real quick. Yeah. I had a moment back way before we had listens, way before we had clients, way before we had money coming in. I was walking around my kitchen, and for the first time in a long time, I was very proud of myself. I was proud of what Alan and I were building. I would even go as far to say as I felt fulfilled in that moment. You have to take pride in what you're doing. I think a lot of us hide. I remember in the beginning, I was so embarrassed to say I was a podcaster. because I knew people were going to judge me. Like, oh, you don't make any money podcasting. I remember for a long time, I was afraid to talk about what I was passionate about. If you don't take pride in it, you're not going to lean into it. And if you don't lean into it, you're not going to get the results you want. If you don't get the results you want, you're probably not going to talk about it. It's this vicious cycle. So make sure you take pride in what you do. I think part of being fulfilled is being proud. We didn't have the results, but we were on a magnificent, glorious journey that brought me so much pride and so much fulfillment. I say this all the time. This podcast journey, 900 episodes, being broke, all that stuff has been the most challenging thing that has taken pieces from me that I will never get back. But it has also been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in the entirety of my life. And I would not trade that for the world.